Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another review, and this time we're going to be covering Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. Okay, so, where Freddy's Revenge failed, Dream Warriors prevailed. This is a kick-ass fucking movie. Dream Warriors is awesome. Probably definitely one of the strongest of the Nightmare movies, and in my opinion, one of the strongest sequels to any horror movie. This movie kicks ass. This movie is directed by Chuck Russell, who brought us films like The Mask. This movie, brings back, Wes Craven as a co-writer. We got Bruce Wagner as a co-writer. We got Frank Darabont, the man who wrote and directed The Shawshank Redemption. And we also got Chuck Russell pulling in some writing duties. And we got a good cast, which has Patricia Arquette. And we also bring back the classics with, and of course we get the return of, John Saxon as Lieutenant Thompson, and we get Nancy, and we get Heather Langenkamp coming back as Nancy Thompson. So this movie, to me, is all-star. This is the all-star Nightmare movie for me. It's so good. Got so much good stuff. Like, the innovativeness of the first movie is back in this movie, but done much better. And of course, this movie outdoes the first one with a lot of innovation, especially in the dreamscape. The set designs look amazing, look spectacular. The production value of this movie is fantastic. Wes Craven is a better visual director, but Chuck Russell, in my opinion, ain't no slouch. Ain't no slouch himself. Does a great job behind the chair. Knows what he's doing. I love his visual style. I love the cast he puts together. I like all the kids. I like all the kids in this movie. They all have distinct personalities, and it's great. You got Will, the kid who can't use his legs. You got Kincaid, who was the angry black kid. You got Perrin, who's like a former druggie, and you got the character of Joey, who's like a mute. But they all come together as one because they're bound by Freddy. And I also like how, Nancy and this other character, Neil Gordon, play into this thing. Neil Gordon, of course, is in charge of these kids. He's the doctor that's helping them. And I like Neil Gordon as a character because he genuinely wants to help these kids and protect these kids. And along with Nancy, he's got, someone else to back him up and help him. Especially when the shit hits the fan and Freddy comes in and starts, taking them out one by one. So I like all that. The character development between all these characters, to me, is awesome. And like I said, the director's top-notch, the production value is great. Freddy Krueger, Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger is great as usual, and this movie he has the classic lines. Come on. Of course, with the best one being, "Welcome to primetime, bish," when he kills the girl by putting her in the TV. Come on now. Come on now. Why do I love Dream Warriors? Let me count the ways. This movie has Lawrence Fishburne in it as Max the Orderly. Lawrence fucking Fishburne is in this thing. Come on, man. Dick Chavette as Freddy Krueger kills Zsa Gabor. Do I need to say this movie's great? It has like a little bit of self-humor in it, which is great also, but it also has a seriousness to it, and Freddy does not go overboard with his jokes, which is even better. He still maintains that level of sinister seriousness, but he also has that, that dark comical wit that he had in the first movie more. Not so prevalent in the second movie, but like I said, this characterization of Freddy goes back to that first movie a little bit, which I like and I can appreciate. And I do like the story. I think the story is extremely solid. Like I said, the character relationships are great. Of course, to me, the third act is where everything really comes together. That's where Lieutenant Thompson comes back in. We find out that he's not a lieutenant anymore. This movie takes place 6 years after the first movie. He and Nancy have a very strained relationship after the events of said movie. So pretty much he's a drunk in a bar. And, I like the very intense reunion they have. You can clearly tell there's love between the two, but there's also a lot of resentment between the two, which I like, and I like how Saxon and Langenkamp played that off together. Two very underrated talented actors. Great. And I also like how Neil Gordon kind of questions, Donald, Lieutenant Thompson's, priorities. Like, he has this great line where he's like, "You may not care if Nancy lives or dies, but I do." And I kind of like how, Lieutenant Thompson took that personal, almost as if, how dare you question my manhood, and how dare you question the love for my child, in a way. And only John Saxon could play that off with such subtleness and not going too overboard with it. John Saxon, one of the best actors, one of the best, B actors, and he's awesome. So nuanced as an actor. I can't praise this man enough. But I also got some problems with the third act. It's not all, dandelions and roses. Freddy dispatches a lot of the kids very quickly in the third act. He takes down Taryn, and Will pretty quickly, and I've always been disappointed by that. Like, they didn't really give Freddy much of a fight. Like, the movie spends a lot of time developing their characters, and like, when it's time to get to the fighting, they get dispatched quicker than they came on screen. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. Like, at least let them get, some licks in on Freddy instead of having Freddy just blow through them like nothing. But I do like Kincaid, and Kincaid does have a lot of fun lines. Actually, Kincaid was probably my favorite character in this whole movie, because he has a lot of lines that I actually do quote in my personal, that I do quote every day, almost every day. Like, "Ain't gonna dream no more, no more." Of course, one of my favorite lines is, let's kick this motherfucker's ass all over Dreamland." So yeah, Kincaid's hilarious. I love Kincaid. Definitely one of the definitely one of my favorite characters in this movie. And I also like the character of Joey, whose weakness is women, because what red-blooded American male does not have a weakness for women? Come on now. Especially when you're a teenager and those hormones are racing. You gotta appreciate, you gotta respect it. This movie also has some stop motion work in it, especially when, especially when you get to Gordon and Lieutenant Thompson's subplot, where they have to pretty much get Freddy's remains and bury it in hallowed sacred ground. And, we go to this whole junkyard where they have the remains buried in, and I love the whole look of the junkyard. It's got this creepy, atmospheric, tone to it, and I just love the whole look and setup and how it looks like a maze, and it's great. The stop motion where Freddy's bone starts to attack Thompson and Gordon is cheesy, but that's part of the charm, and I can't bash stop motion, because practical effects are still fun to use, and Freddy's skeletal remains, it's a letdown, because I really wish they didn't kill him off like this, but Lieutenant Thompson dies when Freddy impales him, and he just beats the crap out of Gordon out of Dr. Gordon, just beats him to death, nearly beats him to death with a shovel. But Gordon gets the one up by burying Freddy's remains and doing the whole "Oh, mother, I christened thee," and that's how we defeat Freddy. But also before that, Freddy, under the guise of Lieutenant Thompson, tricks Nancy, and of course Nancy dies. Nancy finally dies, thus passing the baton on to the next generation. Like, the last of the fallen, passes the reins on to someone else, and that someone else happens to be Kristen, played by Patricia Arquette, who throughout this movie was pretty much being groomed to be the leader and backbone of this group of kids. And I like how they developed her character throughout the movie. Like, you see her, she, everyone thinks she's suicidal, but as the movie progresses, she gets stronger and stronger, which I like. I love that progression, and Patricia Arquette played it perfectly. And I also love, the bittersweet ending to this movie. Freddy is defeated by the power of God, but Nancy dies in Kristen's arms, and I just love that little moment. And of course, we also get some more Freddy background in terms of his backstory. We find out that Freddy is the bastard son of 1,000 maniacs, and his mother was Amanda Kruger, who was a nun that was locked inside the asylum over a Christmas holiday. So we get some Freddy backstory, which is great. Help expand that mythology. And the soundtrack in this movie brought us Dawkins, specifically the songs "Into the Fire" and the theme song of this movie, the amazing kick-ass Dream Warrior song, which I love and still listen to every day, because that song kicks major league ass. So yeah, In case you haven't realized, I love Nightmare on Elm Street 3. This, to me, is a 9 out of 10. And I give it a 9 out of 10 because, only because, to me, Taryn and Will feel like throwaway characters in the third act. And that's pretty much why this thing is not a perfect 10, because to me, they ended up being wasteful characters, which is a shame. But the rest of this movie, c'est magnifique. 9 out of 10. Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors is perfect. In every way, shape, or form. Well, I'm AJ Legend. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.